Hey, thanks for tuning in. Lars has joined me again after, I think, after a month. So to do the next monthly astrology stuff. So we are going to talk about August 2019. Uh, there is, I won't say there is not a lot happening. There is always something happening above us. So this time we just have Mercury, Venus, and Mars moving into Leo at various stages of August. And first, it's going to be Mars, but the theme of the month is going to be like uh, all the personal planets are combust. So Sun is kind of firing everything here and everything around it. That is probably the theme of the month. So it's not about thanks Lars for joining. I think that is there. So yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so the theme of the month is combustion. I'm not really kind of a big fan of Mercury combustion, because Mercury's natural tendency or status in the celestial sphere is all about close to being, I mean, being close to Sun. So
Yeah.
Mercury's combustion, I'm not sure whether it kind of creates a lot of difference, but Venus's combustion and Mars's combustion, I think there is certainly some kind of difference. So that is going to be the thing here. So Mars going combust and is kind of direct signification of draining down our own physical energy, and things again lead to fatigue. And Mars is also going to going to be in an exact trine with Saturn and Ketu at some point of time, which is going to kind of help us release some of the bad energy inside us. But still, it's going to be a physically and also a mentally draining task. And on the other hand, we have Venus combust. Venus combustion is not necessarily a good period for starting a relationship or something like that. But on the other hand, combustion is all about purifying things, and so Agni is a major factor in terms of purifying things. So from a higher level point of view, I think it is important to understand and consider things that they're in an improvement phase. So for Venusian significations, I think it is an improvement phase. It is something that we are realizing that we have not realized all these days. And as and when Venus is going to leave combustion, we will have a clear-cut idea of how things have been and how we have been wrong in kind of misinterpreting various things that have been surrounding your relationship, not necessarily marital relationship, but even friendship, because Venus kind of rules the tendency of a human being to mingle with fellow human beings. So there is a lot of realization that is going to happen. On the other hand, Mercury is also moving into Leo, but let's talk about Mercury after some time, and let's see what Lars has to say about this entire theme of combustion.
Sure, yeah. Well, I was just looking up. I mean, Mars is going to be combust kind of like late Cancer, but it gets fully overtaken by the Sun, interestingly enough, not until they're in like mid Leo in Purva Falguni.
Yeah.
Really interesting because, we talked a lot last time about Mars and Cancer. Like, we talked really extensively about the nakshatras that it was moving into. And so, like, we have them kind of doing this dance from Aslesha into, oh boy, what's the first nakshatra in Leo again?
Leo is Maga.
Maga, yeah. Maga. And Maga is all about the, like, ancestors and that kind of thing. I found that people that have strong Maga placements, like Moon or Ascendant, have like a reverence to their ancestry. They know their ancestry. Knowing their ancestry empowers them. If they don't know it, it will empower them, and that kind of a thing. But we're kind of skipping over that and moving into Purva Falguni, which is actually a prominent nakshatra in my own chart. So
So
I
it's all
know,
about love and
yeah, I know
lust.
a thing. Yes, love and lust. I think a lot of times it ends up being lust. And I remember I said once to somebody, there's really nothing wrong with lust as
Sure.
long as it's not confused with love. And I think that because where I live, there's such a strong Judeo-Christian guilt complex. Lust is looked upon as this like horrible, evil thing. But I think that there's something in a sense, there's something legitimate about pure lust when the people involved in it aren't lying to themselves. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that the lust has to be indulged in, right? That doesn't mean that it has to be like acted upon, but just like that pure movement of desire that happens, especially in like a sexual manner, which is what we tend to associate lust with the most. But lust is also can be associated with an intense desire for a singular pleasure. So it's really, lust is ruled by Venus. It's the other side of Venus. Love and lust, they're kind of like strange bedfellows, you could say. And um, so yeah, there's really nothing wrong with it. But I think that when Mars gets combusted by the sun in Purva Falguni, it's kind of like it's saying it's almost like a purification of lust, purification of desires, and it's certainly an overheating of the principles of Purva Falguni. You have the two most fiery planets conjoining, creating like a super intensity. So there could be, a lustfulness that permeates in that roughly around that time, that sort of, desire and lust sort of increase for better or worse. But that whatever happens, there's likely to be a very pure energy of it, and there may even be people who engage in lustful activities in a way that um, that could be actually very freeing. I don't suggest people to do this or plan this, but I just mean that it's one of those things where, like, if something arises within you during such a period of time, it might be wise to really investigate it. Whether you indulge in it or abstain from it, but before you do either, just investigate it and see what
Sure.
it's really about. And of course, the question becomes like being blinded by lust into and thinking it's love and that whole thing. But the sun and Mars really have nothing to do with romantic love.
Yeah.
The sun and Mars are very individualistically driven planets. So this can also be an abuse of sex. It can be an abuse of, um, yeah, love and sexual interchange and that stuff for selfish gain and that kind of a thing. Or it can be a time to really destroy what is not serving a person when it comes to matters of love and lust. And of course, Venus will also be um, around this time when this finally happens. I mean, it happens, I guess this happens not till September properly. So I do apologize. I've skipped ahead a few months in
No
my
problem.
eagerness to look at this. But yeah, Venus is also kind of in that combustion, and conjunct Mars and the sun pretty closely, kind of doing this interesting sort of dance. And even Mercury makes his way into there. So you've got, when you've got four planets in one place, there could be a lot of confusion. A lot of things can be dysfunctional, I guess, because there's too many cooks in the kitchen. And so I think that, like, we're, in this month I guess in this month, yeah, August, right? So we're leading up to that conjunction in September. They're kind of doing this dance in Cancer and headed into like the beginning of Leo
Leo.
and that sort of a thing. So I don't really know too much what to say about that, other than in Cancer, we get attached to things. We have to deal with our heavy duty emotional attachments, a desire for
Yeah.
comfort, a desire for security. But in reality, the sun being there is a metaphor for spirit entering the equation. And spirit is not about comfort or security or practicality, right? Spirit is just about spirit. And so that's why the sun can be looked upon as like really selfish, because the sun archetype doesn't care about things that are um, that are selfish, that are egotistical, self-serving. And Cancer really is the most egotistical sign,
Uh-huh.
which doesn't mean that there's not redeeming qualities to Cancer. There are. It's just that Cancer is that point in the cycle where things are, the attachment and the sense of like me and what I need to feel okay are at their highest, you know? So that's really the apex of the ego in a sense. So
Sure.
yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I have to say for now. I just, that Purva Falguni thing really caught me,
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
reading
pretty
through.
prominent. Yes, but on the other hand, like
Yeah,
just completely just following and taking over from where you said, in terms of where Cancer has been an emotional bondage, and also some I mean, based upon some individual charts, there must have been some kind of traumatic experiences in terms of I mean, regular routine life, but still, especially in terms of relationships and stuff. But as we move into Leo, and you said Sun and Mars are extremely individualized planets and individualistically
yeah,
signifying planets. So the so there is a, the water quotient is completely out, and the I mean, the emotional bondage and the unnecessary trauma that, or the burden that we have been carrying, uh, is probably going to kind of come down, or it's going to be reduced to a larger extent, because Leo is not an emotional sign. Leo is a realistic sign. Leo is kind of looking forward to move ahead kind of energy. That's what Leo has to offer. And Sun being placed in Leo, I think uh, we need to take our own initiatives to kind of step out of a specific situation that we did not want to get into, and finally we got into. So and I also think it's going to happen because Mars is the planet of action, and Mars is also placed along with the Sun. So there is a lot of action that is involved. And the other thing that kind of uh, uh, removes the emotion quotient out of this equation is that both Mars and Sun are kind of I mean, Mars is a fire giant, sorry, Sun is a fire giant, and Mars is a dry planet. So whenever uh, there is a lot of dryness, we don't have a lot of emotion there. So moisture adds emotion, while dryness does not add emotion. So that's where
yeah,
that is where we are winning over a specific situation, and we are coming out of an emotional bondage and moving ahead in life. So that is the major indicating factor here, because Venus is also combust again. Something is suppressing the emotional quotient, and things are kind of, we are
yeah,
moving forward with things. At some point of time, there is a, I mean, all these planets in Leo will form a trine with Saturn and Ketu, and
mm,
it's all about it's all about some kind of limiting factor, and understanding the greater truth of what life has to offer. And it is probably one of those best periods where we need to exercise our own spiritual free will that is embodied within our own self. Because it's not that Saturn and Ketu are kind of giving only troubles, but Saturn and Ketu has been teaching a lot of good things, but in a hard way, with various with their relationships with various personal planets. Because I have some personal experiences, uh, as I have this kind of thing in my second and eighth house axis. So it has been extremely, tricky and draining for me personally in
sure,
many ways. But I think I've tried to kind of look at this from a spiritual point of view, where I've realized what I need to do and what I should not do. So it is all
sure,
about kind of channelizing things, and understanding what to do and when to do. So instead of kind of accumulating a lot of things to do at the same time, it is important to kind of channelize your energy to do one specific thing at a point. So with Mars going combust here, so I think I'm shifting from relationship, but I think it is important for us to kind of move ahead from relationship, so that we can touch upon other philosophical factors as well. So with Mars going combust, we are kind of we are bereft of light in terms of Martian activities, and Sun overtakes things. And Saturn Sun trine is going to be a very important thing here in terms of understanding the higher truth and the philosophical truth. It does not matter which religion you follow, but still, at the end of the day, if you just know the actual path of righteousness, and whatever is dharmic, or whatever pattern you feel is dharmic, is something that you need to follow, uh, because Sun is going to overtake Mars, and Sun is probably going to dictate terms to Mars here,
Yeah.
because Mars is in Sun's territory, and it is also combust, and Mars doesn't have its own vision. So as long as we see things from our own spirit's point of view, and understanding what our spirit is something that already is there within us, and it is not. We obviously are influenced and impacted by various things that we see outside, but still, at the end of the day, whatever is inside us and whatever we feel inside us is something that we are going to do. So
Yeah.
it is important for us to look at things from a positive and a philosophical point of view, rather than basic materialistic point of view, because we are talking about a fire trine, which is all about dharma.
Yes.
So 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 it is important to kind of find the path of righteousness. And it can be a hammering blow to many people, because a lot of people are kind of stuck up with a lot of emotions at various points, like myself. So we have to so we have to kind of let go many things that we don't need. Um, so like how it was 2 months before, when many planets were conjunct Saturn, and Ketu are opposing Saturn and Ketu,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
where we had to kind of let go things. We are again there 2 months later, where we have yet another opportunity to kind of let go things and reduce the burden
Yes.
as we walk forward in our journey of self-discovery.
What very well said. And it was making me think too about how, like, with all this stuff happening in Cancer right now, like Mars starting to become combust in Cancer, Venus is combust in Cancer right now, and so is Mercury. Arguably, Mercury is a little wide, but there's kind of this theme of just not having a lot of individuality or strength in individuality, like being like stuck in attachments, feeling impotent, being bonded in love and desire in ways that maybe aren't so healthy. And we really see this in the transition from Pushya to Aslesha, where negatively that becomes like a state where it's like a codependency, especially with Venus there, like codependency of like, oh well, this is nourishing, and then it starts to become too much, and it's like, oh no, but this was nourishing, I need this, like give me more. I can't, like, I can't live without it, like whatever it is. um and then as they head into Leo, like I said, with Maga emphasizing ancestry, that really emphasizes like who we are. Like, I know some
Yeah.
people don't like to link the nakshatras to the signs in the West now, but I think there's profound symbolism in doing that. And so, like Magha is the first part of Leo, is like who you are is where you've come from.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, you, like nothing exists in a vacuum. It's drawing from like that like those roots and that kind of a thing. And so then where I'm going with all this, to relate back to what you said about Saturn K2, it's so interesting because we have, as we're making this video, we have these 4 planets: Mercury, Sun, Mars, Venus, and the 8th from Saturn. 8th from Saturn, 8th from Sagittarius. This is and Jupiter in the 12th from there. This is a very potent image of what people like to call the dark night of the soul. The 6-8 relationships between signs are very, very inimical. They're arguably the most difficult relationships in some ways. because even though there's no aspect, those signs are just that's like one of the most difficult relationships for geometrical reasons. And they're in the eighth, so it's really like trudging through, sort of like feeling, a lot of people probably are feeling the hopelessness of this Saturn K2 in Sagittarius very strongly, because not just because Jupiter, the Lord, is in precarious condition in the 12th from there, but now also because these four planets are slowly trudging through the eighth house. And it makes me think of Lord of the Rings, and it makes me think of the four hobbits, like they're
Yeah.
like, they're having to hide. They don't understand what they're doing. Are they even going to make it? They're being pursued by ring wraiths. They haven't met Aragorn yet to save them. All this
Yeah.
stuff. All this stuff
I
is
mean,
very.
the theme of whether they're going to make it has been it has been consistent throughout the entire series of the Lord of the Rings, where
Yeah.
it is not sure. I mean, as viewers, it is sure for us that Frodo is going to destroy the ring, but still, from their point of view, they're completely unsure until the end of it whether they're going to make it or not. So
But right, and Saturn K2 in Sagittarius is a perfect symbol for Sauron in his tower, because he's depleted of all his power, which is
yeah,
K2,
yes,
right? But he's seeking, which is Sagittarius, and then Rahu in Gemini, he's
okay.
seeking the ring, which
Mhm.
is, you can say, oh, but rings are Venusian. But I would say it fits well because Gemini has this, the mercurial connotation of like this tool, this
Mhm.
like one little tiny tool that he can use to, reconstitute himself and that kind of a thing. So we've got this Lord of the Rings theme happening
So
here.
I see Gandalf in Sun here, because Gandalf is the
Yeah.
only savior for everyone, and at this point, Sun is the only savior that can kind of help us come away from a lot of obstacles that
Well,
are
I would
currently
I
lying
would
even in front of.
see I would see Gandalf as Jupiter, though, actually.
Okay,
To me, he's always been Sagittarius Jupiter
yeah,
archetype.
he has
He
been
rides
Jupiter.
on a white horse.
I just tried to kind of relate it to the current
Yeah.
situation, because he is the savior, and to me, Sun is the savior. Maybe Jupiter is also the savior, but still, here
Well,
maybe, yeah,
I mean, the real interesting thing about Lord of the Rings is that when push comes to shove, Frodo fails, and he only succeeds because his selfishness and Gollum's selfishness basically cancel each other out.
yeah, sure.
And it's so interesting. And so Gandalf is like, he's the helper, but he's not really the savior. Frodo is really supposed to be the savior, but
But
arguably the true savior is Aragorn.
Aragon, yeah,
Return of the King.
Aragon. But
You know,
Aragon here, Mars is combust, and Aragon is kind of combust here. He doesn't have a vision. Maybe
sure,
he's
yeah.
yeah he has been. I mean, it is almost like the end of the fellowship, where everyone is kind of parted ways because of the Urukhais and the orcs. Uh,
Well, it's,
told
to me, it's really like, we can continue forever down this line of thinking, which is fun, and I enjoy it. I think that it's like Aragorn, when he's Strider, he's Mars, right? But when
yeah,
he's Aragorn, he's the sun, because he's the king. And so right now, it's like that king within us is battling with that desire to be free of responsibility, but the king within us is part of us that, like, that does, that's dharmic. It's the dharmic part of ourselves that is saying, like, well, we have to do what is right for us to do, and
sure.
we can't necessarily just keep, like, shying away from who we are and our destiny. We can't keep hiding. We have to take a stand. And so I think that's what the energies are gearing up for when we do get further into Leo. And when we get into Leo, those planets, like you said, are trine to Saturn, or they're in the ninth house from Saturn. But there will be, eventually there will be all four of those planets in the ninth. And so it's kind of like this opportunity to really find the truth and the meaning and the light in all of these trials and tribulations that have been occurring with this Saturn placement, because Saturn's still going to be retrograde for many more months. He doesn't turn direct until like January or February of next year. So it's kind of a while. And so you get all these planets in the ninth kind of saying like, oh, well, this is the purpose of why this has been happening, or this is like, you know, how I can rise above it or whatever. But and the positive side there is we'll have, you know, Sun and Mars very powerful there. But the downside is, you know, we'll have weak Venus, and Mercury is kind of neutral there. You know, I guess he's in a friend sign, but you know, it's kind of new.
Saturn turns direct in September, mid-September.
Okay. Oh wait, it does. Oh, what am I? Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of when Saturn moves into Capricorn. Saturn doesn't move into Capricorn till next year.
Next year, yes.
He turns direct sooner than later. But anyway, yeah, Venus is kind of getting, you know, destroyed, and so this is an opportunity to, again, it's an opportunity to cut through negative relationships and like the negative, and to cut away the dark sides of lust and quote unquote love or desire, whatever those are. And you know, it reminds me of the quote I shared today on Facebook by the mother, which is basically saying, oh, you saw it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it was basically saying that like after each desire is fulfilled, there's kind of there's like sort of a regret that permeates your being. And I have never before experienced that so viscerally as I have the past couple days, just on a side note. And I'm sharing it because I think it relates a lot to these transits, where it's like our desires get us entangled in stuff and we forget who we are. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're seeing with all these planets in Cancer. That's what we're seeing with this Aslesha kind of theme with fallen Mars and Aslesha and stuff. You know, we're not getting as much of the positive sides of Aslesha, in my opinion, right now. And you know, honestly, I'm having a hard time remembering what the positive sides of Aslesha are at the moment, because there are positive sides to it, of course, but it's just kind of this theme of like being like how disappointing desire really is, and how any action that is selfish, no matter how small it is, or no matter how you think that it's not a big deal, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I should say, really, every selfish act affects yourself and others negatively.
Yeah, sure. I mean, as it is, at the end of the day, it comes down to every action has its own reaction. I mean, it is reaction certainly on you, but there is also a reaction to your surroundings in some way. So to talk about positives of Aslesha, I think it is all about empowerment, self-empowerment, in terms of as we are going on to realize something very important to set up the next phase of our journey in life. I think it is all about self-empowerment and understanding that we can actually do something really good, at least to ourselves, not necessarily to the society, but at least to ourselves. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums up the theme of this month. So
Cool.
I think we don't need to talk about what Venus can do in Leo, or Mars can do in Leo, or Mercury can do in Leo. That's something that it's readily available for many people. But I think it is important for us to cover what this theme of combustion and this kind of trine, the fire trine, has to offer to people from a philosophical level. So that's what I wanted to kind of explore in this video. So I think we have done that very well. And yeah, that pretty
great.
much, yeah, thank you so much for joining, Lars.
Thank you, man. That was fun.